everywhere where there is attached gingiva. The usual site is buccal alveolar bone. Buccal alveolar bone has advantage of can apply conventional biomechanics because it is near to the brackets and wire. So we can easily apply conventional biomechanics. What this advantage is because it's between the dental roots, it can intervene to movement. You can't move roots through the screws. The screw will rust if you do so. And second thing is there is high possibility of failure. There are reports about the success rate of the mini screw on the buccal alveolar bone. It's around 83.8% and 80%. But to my clinical experience, it's lower than that. About 70% for me, even experienced. 70%. For my resident, about 50%. So there is kind of learning curve with experience and a higher success rate. But for the palate, it's over 90% success rate. It is reported here, 91%. Also, another study reported 90.8%. So it's almost the same, 91%. For the palate, there is no learning curve. Actually, me and my resident, success rate is almost the same. So palate has very high rate of success for the mini screw. So for the palatal mini screws, we have advantage and disadvantage. It has low failure rate, it's an advantage, but it's far from the brackets. It's disadvantage. You cannot give proper force or biomechanics to the tooth because it's far. So to overcome this disadvantage, many appliance designs has been proposed in the literatures. But the disadvantage of this system are they are just for one tooth movement, cannot perform various tooth movements. So we devised a system called two mini screw system using mini screws which have bracket nut in its head design and the connecting wire. That is, placing two palatal mini screws and place a connecting wire, then form a helix or loops to make a tooth movement. Like these various designs of mid-palatal connecting wires, we can perform various tooth movements. So I can say this system has versatility. I want to talk about one by one of these wire designs. So why do I use two mini screws? Of course, it can bear heavier force than one mini screw. Second, this is the very important point of why I use two mini screws. It can resist rotational force. We all know that mini screws are very vulnerable to rotating force. When I give rotation force to the mini screw, it loses. So if I connect two mini screws, one loosening direction became a one tightening direction to the other mini screw. So even though we give rotating force to the mini screw system, two mini screw system, we are not going to lose mini screw. Third, because we are holding the wire at 2 points, wire retention is much more better, and also can reduce place between the wire and slats. So wire can be held firmly by the slats. And there is less wire deformation, which enables to better force delivery. So we published this system in the AJOBO in the year 2011. I hope you find it helpful. Before talking about clinical application, I want to talk about some aspects of the palatal anatomy for mini screw placement. It is said in the literatures that palatal area lacks critical anatomical structures, therefore, safer area for implant placement. Is it true? It's really true. They say buccal alveolar bone has critical structure, but the reality is they don't have critical structures in the buccal alveolar bone. Only dental root exists. And we know the contact with the miniscule to the dental roots always, not always, high percentage of failure. So they say that's critical structure. But in the palate, we have many other considerations like incisive foramen and canal, great palatine foramen, great palatine foramen vessels, and also sinus. The basic structure, bone quality, and soft tissue thickness should be also considered. I will talk about it one by one. For the bone thickness, it is said bone depth should be enough to secure the length of the miniscule. So the usual miniscule length we use is 6 millimeters. Some people say bone depth should be more than 6 millimeters. But others say it's okay to penetrate the bone. Bone thickness is thin, then penetrate the bone with the miniscule, and we get double cortical anchorage. Outer cortical anchorage and inner cortical anchorage. That makes the miniscule more stable. So, through the many literatures, it is said 4 millimeters of bone depth should be minimum for the miniscule placement. And for the palate, bone thickness becomes thicker in the front and lateral. In the medial and posterior, bone thickness becomes thinner. This is front, this posterior, posterior, posterior. You see the bone thickness gets thinner, thinner, and thinnest in the posterior. Also, the bone thickness gets thicker in the lateral. As you see here, it's thin in the middle, but thicker in the lateral. But in the mid-palate suture area, the bone thickness is thick, becomes thick. The most thin area is lateral to the mid-palatal area, this area. So mid-palatal area has enough thickness of the bone. Okay. Second, we should talk about cortical bone. Cortical bone thickness is important for miniscule stability because most of the miniscules get retention force from interacting of the cortical bone and the miniscule surface. We don't induce osseo integration like dental implants. So interacting of miniscule surface and cortical bone is very important. So the thickness of the cortical bone is one of the critical features that should ensure that miniscule is well stability. From the literature, it is said at least 1 millimeter of cortical bone is required for stable miniscule placement. And thankfully, all the palate bone has more than 1 millimeter of cortical bone. Okay, third, we should think about soft tissue thickness. Soft tissue thickness. When the soft tissue thickness is very thick, then the screw part in the bone and the force application point is far. That's mechanically unstable. So, for better miniscule stability, the soft tissue should be thin. From the literatures, soft tissue must be thinner than 2 millimeters. And in the palate, as you see here, the soft tissue is thick in the front and the lateral area. In the front and the lateral area, soft tissue is thick. It becomes thinner when it goes to the posterior, and it's thinner in the mid-palatal area. So, mid-palatal area is better for in the perspective of soft tissue. Oh, sorry. Second, we have think about incisive foramen, which is located behind the central incisor. I don't think anybody wants to put miniscule here because this part we have incised nerve and vessels there, but not because we're gonna damage the nerves and vessels. The foramen is very big here, very big, pretty big. And even though we put mean screw there, we have very low chance of damaging the nerve and blood vessels. But the problem is, there's no bone support, less bone support actually. So this is not a good place for placing mean screw. Also the canal runs backward and upward. If we place mean screws here, we may not damage the nerve or vessels, very low possibility, but the bone support is less there. You see the bone thickness is seen here, so it's not a good place. It is said in the literature that incised canal runs backward and upward until post-premolar level. So we should avoid this place. Second, we have greater palatine nerve and artery passes through this great palatine foramen. This foramen is small. So when we put mean screw there, for the high possibility you will damage the nerve and vessels there. The foramen is located about third molar palate level. But sometimes it is located between third molar and second molar, even in the second molar. So I recommend you not to place mean screws around here. I have a very terrible experience of a patient who received mean screws right here in the foramen. And as a result, she lost the whole sense of the palate of her heart. She came up to me to issue an injury certificate to submit to the court. Maybe her orthodontist wants to get unmasked destabilization of the maxillary dentition, so he placed mean screws here, but ended up in terrible result. So don't place mean screws in this place. Great palatine nerve and artery runs this way, and you can easily find this place. You see here, the mucosa is a little bit bluish, and the soft tissue is very thick here. I'll show you from the CT. You see the soft tissue is very thick here, and there is kind of bond notch here. That's the pathway of the nerve and artery runs through. So this part, you better not place mean screw there, not because you're gonna damage the nerve and artery, but because soft tissue thickness is very thick, and second, bone depth is very thin here. So we don't place mean screws there. And last, over 4 millimeters of bone depth can be found in this blue colored area, very small in the posterior, very large in the anterior. Mucosa less than 2 millimeters is in the middle part area. We should avoid incised foramen and canal until the post-premolar level. The rest are okay. For the great palatine nerve and artery pathway, the foramen opens here and the nerve and artery runs forward like this. So this colored area is okay. Finally, I think this is the best area for mean screw placement in the palate. So this is how we prepare the system. We place mean screw with the slots in the head design in the middle palatal, lateral to the middle palatal suture about 2 or 3 millimeters lateral on the first molar level. Okay, 1 mean screw is placed and 2 mean screws placed. Do best to parallelize the slots. It is much easier than when you prepare the connecting wire. Then take a rubber impression, small rubber impression. You see the bracket slots here, and place an analog mean screw here and pour stone. Then the plaster is ready to make a connecting wire. Then the wire passes a little bit here and it's all ready. Next thing is you bend wires in various designs to make a tooth movement. So, three-dimensional tooth movement is possible. Sagittal, transverse, and vertical. I will talk about it one by one. First, sagittal control. That's molar distalization, molar protraction, and indirect anchorage for incisor retraction. First, molar distalization. We have three designs for molar distalization. One is lingual arch, using lingual arch. Second, this is half of the lingual arch, but I don't use this for this only causes rotation of the molar, not effective, so I don't use this. Third is pendulum. Have you heard about pendulum spring, pendulum appliance? Yeah, Dr. Hughes said pendulum appliance. So I want to talk about the lingual arch first. Place the lingual arch with anterior hook here and the mini screw. Mini screw is placed here and the connecting wire is bent like a hook here. So I want to do the bodily distalization of the molar to make it the hook length and the connecting wire length pass through the center of the resistance of the molar. Then we can get bodily distalization of the molar. It's a classic design actually. So it's like this. If you want bodily distalization, then make the anterior hook and length of the connecting wire to the level of the center of resistance. If you make it occlusally, then distal tipping of the molar will occur. If you make it like this, high anterior hook and low posterior connecting wire passing through the central resistance, you can get intrusion and distalization of the molar. You can mix it. You don't have to replace the mini screw, but just adjusting the connecting wire length, you can get various tooth movement patterns. So let's start with the case. This is 21 years old female. She had crowding and class 2 molar relations. She wanted to fix her crowding. And she had lower left central incisor small size here. This is her panorama, nothing special. And this is her lateral set, initial lateral set. She is showing a retroclined maxillary incisor and mandibular incisors. So she is class division 2. To correct division 2, we first align the maxillary incisors to division 1 relation. Then I placed 2 palatal mini screws and started intrusion of the molar first, because she showed a little bit anterior open bite tendency. Also, mandibular dentition began to align. Next, I changed to the lingual arch distalization system with the power chain to distalize the molar. I always take lateral cephalogram after applying this lingual arch appliance, because I want to see the force of distalization, force vector passes through the furcation, which is the central resistance of the molar, to ensure this molar goes bodily distalization. This is after, okay, this is after treatment. Now class 1 molar relation has been obtained, and the incisor offset has been reduced to class 1. Before and after distalization. Class 2 became class 1. Before object and after object. Object has reduced to class 1 and debonded. Okay, let's go on to another case. A 16-year, 5 months female came to me with complaining of crowding. She had class 2 molar relation. So, the treatment plan was extend the maxilla in the mandible because she had narrow maxilla in the narrow mandible and maxillary molar distalization to obtain class 1 molar relation. RPE and Schubert's expander was delivered. Dental expander for the mandible and skeletal expander for the maxilla. And the alignment leveling was done. And lingual arch was delivered to distalize the maxillary molars. Look at this class 2 molar relation. And class 1 after 6 months of molar distalization. And debonded. Before and after treatment, lateral cephalogram. And this is superimposition. You can see how much the molar, maxillary molars were distalized and incisors were distalized. That's not only because the distalization of the dentition, but also expansion made space. So the maxillary incisors were retracted. So let's see another case. 13-year and 6 months old female came up to me with a complaint of she had one incisor missing here. Maxillary right lateral incisor was missing, and she showed class 2 molar elevation here, on both sides. So treatment plan was made to non-extraction, maxillary molar distalization, and make space for maxillary right lateral incisor. This is our initial cephalogram. Panoramic view shows that her right maxillary lateral incisor is missing, and leveling and aligning was started. And I started to open space, and lingual arch was delivered. Okay, now class 1. And the lateral incisor space has been fully recovered with coincidence of the midline. I have to confess at this point I am a power bracket user, and this bracket is Empower actually, but you can see the ligature tie here, absolutely not needed. I am using Empower bracket about 10 years ago, since 10 years ago, and before that I was using other companies' bracket, also was application bracket. That bracket, the clip was so weak, When there was large discrepancy between the tooth in the leveling and aligning stage, I had to make an additional tie on the large discrepancy tooth, because the clip does not hold the arch wire. But with the Empower bracket, there is no need. The clip is so rigid. It's reliable, can hold the arch wire very well. And also, the clip is very important because the prescription should be expressed properly, like in and out and torque and rotation control is very excellent with this Empower bracket because the clip is good. Okay, this is Empower bracket. It has the signature, that 3/4 system of the clip, and I think this clip design is very excellent. I would like to thank American Orthodontics for providing us such a wonderful bracket. So now let's go back to the case. I debonded her with class 1 molar here and there, And lateral incisor space was kept with removable retainer pointing on the lateral incisor here. This is a superimposition. Maxillary molars were dislodged successfully. Yes. Also, we can use this lingual arch distalizer with MARPI. You know MARPI, minuscule assisted left palatal expander. Usually, this kind of MARPI has two minuscules in the back, two minuscules in the front. And the minuscules are protruded into the oral cavity, so we can use it as a kind of like minuscule. So they can hold the connecting wire like this way. So you don't have to place additional minuscules when you are using MARPI. So let's go on to the pendulum. This is the pendulum design. It's a spring actually. We have a helix here, and we have a loop here. This loop is not necessary, so you can just omit it. But for ease of handling of the spring, it is better to put U-loop here. It's a simple idea. Actually, the Dr. Hirsch's pendulum spring, as shown here. Dr. Hirsch's pendulum spring connected with two palatal minuscules. It's easy. It looks complicated, but it takes about less than 5 minutes to make it one pair of this pendulum spring. Less than 5 minutes. So we put this spring into the slot of the minuscule and tie with ligature wires. I'm sorry, my computer sometimes works very slowly. I will show you how to activate it. It can be activated extraorally and intraorally. I prefer intraoral activation for it's much more comfortable. I'm sorry, it's down now. So, you can activate the pendulum spring just by vista tipping of the spring, like this way, vista tipping, and put it back. This is the activated spring. This is the passive spring here. Also, it can be activated by holding the helix with the utility plier and push it back with the tucker. Push it back like this way. This is the activation. So this is now activated state. This is intraoral activation and this is extraoral activation. So after activation, you take the tip backward with a mosquito or with a winged plier, then put the tip into the lingual sheath. So by this activation, you can distalize the molar. Okay, let's see a case. This is 23-year-old male. He visited because he had very crowded tooth. Many problems exist. His first molar on here, maxillary first molar, was missing, and his second molar was severely decayed and majorly inclined. This is the initial lateral set, showing nothing special. His mandibular and maxillary relation was in normal, and incisors were in good position. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not working okay. I have to fix it. Okay, it's back okay. So his second molar was deeply majorly inclined, and his right maxillary first molar was missing. And for his left second molar, mandibular molar, was majorly inclined. So I planned premolar extraction of the maxillary and premolar extraction of the mandible on the left side only. For the right side, distalization was planned. Distalization of the maxillary molars was done with pendulum screen. You see here no U-loop. U-loop is not necessary, I said before. And also, the impacted right second molar was unrighted with the spring here. Okay, this is after 5 months of molar distalization. Now is class 1, abruptly, class 1. And the mandibular second molar is now unrighting, as you see there. And we kept on molar distalization with the pendulum spring. Okay, after 8 months, we stopped molar distalization and placed the transparent arch there and debonded. The occlusion is somewhat lousy because we have to make a prosthesis for this mandibular tooth here. But maxillary molars were distalized successfully. Actually, this was severely majorly inclined. I hope the adulabone will restore after unrighting of the second molar, but there was some adulabone defect. That's a sad thing. Okay, another case. The 12-year-old female, she came because she had crookeditis, that's crowding. So I planned non-extraction treatment and maxillary molar distalization with interproximal reduction of the mandibular dentition. Her initial set shows nothing special. So aligning leveling started. Molar distalization with the pendulum spring started with the maxillary molars. And for the mandible, interproximal reduction was done to align the tooth. Because she had not much class 2, actually almost class 1, so not much distalization was needed. That's after 3 months of pendulum appliance. This line is roughly connecting the mini screws between two photos, and this red line is the major proximal of the first molar. You can see roughly how much the maxillary molars were distalized. This much. Okay, debonded with class 1 molar relation. This is after treatment, lateral and panorama. Even though we have third molars here, third molars of the maxilla, we did maxillary molar distalization. When the third molar is under development of this stage, it can be distalized with the second molar, so we don't have to extract it. Molar was distalized a little bit, not much. As I said, she already had almost class 1 molar relation. This is 5 years detention. Everything looks fine. Okay, other cases. This is 4 months change. Look at the molar. Maxillary molars were distalized this much and this much. This is 6 months changes of another case, showing maxillary molars were distalized successfully with this system. I love this pendulum spring. It works well. Also, you can use unilateral distalization of the maxillary molar. Unilateral distalization. With lingual arch distalizing system, you can only have bilateral molar distalization. But with pendulum, you can do the unilateral distalization like this. And also with the marquee, as I said before, you can use the minuscules as the same buttress for the distalization. So one of my residents did a simple study to compare the effect of molar distalization between lingual arch and the pendulum spring. 14 patients were gathered. They were all adults. They were had class 2 molar elevation before treatment. And the lateral sets were gathered before and after treatment. And 4 distance and 1 angulation was measured. And simple statics was done. Before treatment, the two groups were not different in any of the variables. After treatment, we had one difference, that was angulation. For the pendulum type group, angulation was smaller. That means distal tipping of the molar. This is lingual type distalizers result, showing that 2.2 millimeters were distalized and just 0.8 degree was changed. And that change was actually molar root distal tipping, not crown distal tipping. But this amount is clinically insignificant. And a small bit of molar intrusion occurred. .3 millimeters. That's insignificant too. So I can say with lingual arch type distalizer, you can get bodily distalization of the maxillary molar. For the pendulum type, 1.5 millimeters was distalized and 1.5 degree distal tipping of the crown occurred. Distal tipping of the crown. It's easily predictable. Distal tipping. Comparing with the conventional pendulum appliance by Dr. Hughes, about 2 to 3 degree distal tipping occurs in every 1 millimeter of distalization. So I can say this amount is half the amount of the conventional pendulum appliance. I think the reason for that is we simultaneously use fixed appliance on the buccal surface, so the distal tipping was minimized. Also, one thing special is significant amount of molar intrusion occurred. Almost 1 millimeter intrusion occurred when 1.5 millimeters were distalized. That's significant. That's clinically significant. So we published this result in the Korean Journal of Orthodontics in the year 2016. So next is molar protraction. For molar protraction, we have two designs of the wire system. The first one is reverse of the lingual arch, but I don't use this. It's not working well. I don't use this. The second one is reverse of the pendulum spring. I use this system. This works well. Reverse of the pendulum. So a patient came up to me with her
maxillary lateral incisor, right lateral incisor was missing, and left lateral incisor was pegged here. It's not obvious on the photo, but she had almost full class 2 molar elevation. Almost full class 2 molar elevation here too. And mild crowding on the mandibular dentition. So I made a treatment plan to extract that single peg lateralis on the left maxillary lateral incisor and make full class 2 molar elevation, protracting the maxillary molars forward and establishing full class 2 molar elevation. Alignment leveling was done, and this reverse pendulum spring was delivered. This is after treatment. Full class 2 and full class 2 on both sides. I superimposed the models before and after treatment. Green is after treatment and blue is before treatment. So you can see how much amount of molar construction was achieved by this model superimposition. Also, we can get asymmetric molar movement using pendulum springs. That is, one side protraction, the other side distalization. You can do it simultaneously. I will show you with a case. And this case is 38 years old female. She has complicated oral condition. Her canine was missing, maxillary right canine was missing, and mandibular first molars were missing. Dentition was whole shifted to the right side. On the mandible, you can see the arch dome is skewed. Arch dome is somewhat flat here, burst here. And for the maxilla, same. Arch dome is irregular. It's flat on the right side. So her midline was severely deviated to the right side. This is her panorama. Right canine was missing, mandibular first molars was missing, and number 27, that's left maxillary second molar, was severely decayed and was hopeless, was planned to be extracted. And this one is super lucky because it had no opposing tooth. PA cephalogram shows her midline is severely deviated to the right side. So alignment leveling was done. Molar unwriting, spring was engaged to unwrite the second molar. And I saw this extraction space of the maxillary left second molar can be used. This is third molar actually, third molar. Second molar was extracted. I could use this space to rotate the midline to the right side. But the truth, the reality was, there was much ankle loss. Much ankle loss. The space was wholly closed by the protraction of the third molar. The fourth molar distalization was occurred very little amount. Aligning leveling of the mandibular second molar was done. And I changed my treatment plan to whole rotation of the maxilla to the clockwise direction to correct the midline. Also, because we had larger space here, mandibular left first molar, so closing this space would correct the mandibular midline to the left side. After removing. Now the midline is much improved, not perfect, but much improved. This is after PA cephalogram. I said not perfect, but much improved before, as compared with before. This is 2 years detention. Everything is okay. Stable result. Okay, now I'm going to the indirect anchorage. Indirect anchorage is reinforcing the first molar for anchorage. Here is a case. It's a 22 years old male. And he had a little bit protrusion and a little bit crowding here. So, and he had class 2 molar relation on both sides. This is the downward view. Lateral set shows he had a little bit protrusion of the incisors. So I told him you need extraction treatment. So mandibular second premolar was extracted, second premolar extraction, and for the maxilla, first premolar is planned to be extracted. Aligning leveling was done, and retraction of the incisors was in progress. And what I found was I saw mandibular first premolar extraction and mandibular second premolar extraction makes the anchorage difference between maxilla and mandible would make class 1 automatically. It was a naive thinking. It didn't work as that. So I have to place a mini screw, part mini screw there, slightly distally activate the wire and engage in the bracket. That's reinforcing the first molar anchorage to make class 1 molarization. So, incisor retraction began again. Finished. Little space was left because his lateral incisor was peg lateralis. There was a Bolton ratio difference between maxilla and mandible. So I had to leave some space there. And that was all the space. You can use this indirect anchorage with buccal appliance at the same way. And also, marking can be used like this way. Indirect anchorage connecting with the first molar, then making the first molar an absolute anchorage. That's very simple concept. For a simple retraction of the incisors, I usually don't place mini screw in the palate. I prefer placing the mini screws on the buccal available for simple retraction of the incisors. This is the usual position between the second premolar and first molar. The mini screw is placed here to aid as an anchorage. But for when you need incisor intrusion, maxillary incisor intrusion, you can place the mini screw in the measure, which is post premolar area, giving the more vertical vector, intrusion vector, wide retraction. So I want to show you a case of this one. This is very effective. 14-year-old 10 months female with complaints of protrusion came to me. She had roughly class 1 molar relation on the left side and class 2 molar relation on the right side. She had minimum crowding. Because she had protrusion, post premolar extraction treatment was planned. Aligning leveling was done and post premolar was extracted. Now, mini screw was placed in the extraction area to give more vertical vector during retraction. She had gummy smile actually, so I wanted to decrease her gum exposure during smile and rest position. The problem with this one is when the canine comes back, canine lose contact with the mini screw, and mini screw inevitably has to be removed at that stage. So canine came to this side, and I have to remove the mini screw here and replace the mini screw to the palatal area for indirect anchorage and finish. This is before and this is after. Much of the incisor exposure has reduced. Too much, actually, too much. Before treatment and after treatment, lateral cephalogram and superimposition shows intrusion and retraction of the maxillary incisors. So the high position buccal alveolar bone mini screw is very effective in reducing the incisor exposure. Okay, 1 year follow-up shows a stable lesion. And okay, now we are done with the sagittal control of the maxillary dentition. Now we go to the vertical control of the maxillary dentition. First is molar intrusion. Molar intrusion, we have many literatures on it. So this is the typical design of maxillary molar intrusion using TPA and palatal mini screws. It's very simple. You can use only one mini screw, actually, not two. Then why we use two mini screws? I will show you with the case. I will talk about the molar intrusion more in detail in the afternoon session. Actually, we have the afternoon session is molar intrusion, so we're going to talk about it more in detail. Okay, a patient, female with 25 years old. She had a TMD with COCR discrepancy. This is before treatment lateral cephalogram. And I delivered the CR splint because she had COCR discrepancy. The CR splint makes the mandible position to the CR position. So I always use CR splint when there is a COCR discrepancy. You see the open bite worsen with after CR splint, and only the second molar is in contact. So in this case, what teeth should be intruded? Of course, second molar should be intruded first. With adjusting this connecting wire, you can give intrusion force on the first molar or second molar. You can adjust by changing the connecting wire. I started with second molar intrusion first. Second molar intrusion reduced the anterior open bite. And after that, now the first molar started to occlude. So I changed to first molar intrusion. You can change the intrusion force application point by changing the connecting wire. It's very easy. You don't have to replace the mini screw. That's transverse control. Okay, progress and debonding. And for extrusion, there is not much mechanics to extrude the molar, especially the maxillary molar. That's for the impacted maxillary molar. Okay, I will talk about the case. This is 35 years old female. She had a crack on the maxillary left second molar, has to be removed. And the dentist found there was a third molar here. So instead of implanting a dental implant here, the dentist suggested to wait for the third molar to erupt. He waited for 6 months, but the third molar didn't move. So the dentist sent this lady to my office to orthodontic extraction of this impacted molar, third molar. So I designed a mean screw system right here with the spring. That's extrusion activation and tied to the third molar to give extrusion force. Also, and here, because she had missing right mandibular second molar, the maxillary right second molar was extruded a little bit. So the dentist also asked to intrude this molar. So I gave this design here, intrusion of the palatal intrusion of the maxillary right second molar. We can do asymmetric thing together with this system. One side extrusion, one side intrusion, like this. Okay, the third molar erupted successfully, and fine detailing of the position was done with the brackets on the tooth and debonded. This is the third molar. This is after treatment panorama. You can see the third molar has successfully erupted into right place. Before and after. Okay, 18-year-old, 3-month-old male. He had unerupted maxillary second molars, both sides, and he had history of extracting second mandibular molars. It was a mistake, actually. The surgeon was supposed to extract the third molar of the mandible, but he mistook the second molar as the third molar. So it's a terrible mistake, actually. I told the patient, we have third molar, fortunately, so we can substitute the third molar to the second molar position. This is the photo. Actually, this is the third molar, and the maxillary second molars are impacted, not erupted. He's 18 years old. That's too late. So, what should I do? I should extrude those maxillary second molars and unlike mandibular third molars to the second molar position. Again, mid-palatal screws were placed with extrusion spring there, and the mandible was indirect screw anchorage was prepared to unlike the medially inclined third molar. Here is the spring, activated this here, and pull it and engage it here, giving the distal unlighted force. Treatment progress. Now the mandibular third molar is unlighting successfully, and the maxillary second molar is erupting successfully. Finished mandibular molars. Maxillary second molars are almost erupted after 6 months of extraction, and finished. You see the maxillary second molar is successfully erupted and occluded with opposing tooth. This is after debonding panorama. You see the mandibular molars were successfully unlighted and the maxillary molars were erupted successfully. Okay, next is transverse control, but I think this is time for coffee break, isn't it? So, after coffee break, I'm going to start with transverse control. Thank you.